Hello, I'm Eben Novi-Williams.
And I'm Scott Soshnick from Whiteout to Buyout to Get Out. Oh, yes.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yes, see, there it is.
By the way, anytime you want to switch the intro and
no, I don't want to switch it. I don't want that pressure. I have music pressures. I looked up Penn State theme music. They don't have any. They have all the theme. But seriously, in the 10 seconds that I was doing that, it was like Whiteout. I was like, all right, Whiteout, Buyout, Get Out. I'm like, yeah, there it is. There's the alliteration we like. All right.
That's good.
Staccato delivery, if you will. Anyway, bye, James Franklin.
Truly shocking, Scott, and we can get into all the details.
Wait, what's shocking? The firing, the losing. What's the shocking part of this?
All of it. I don't know what is more surprising. James Franklin, the coach of Penn State, the first coach in maybe ever, or at least in modern college football times, to lose 2 straight games when he was a 20-plus point favorite. I don't know if it's more surprising that this Penn State team was a top 5 team 16 days ago and now fired its coach, or the fact that James Franklin, and if you know any Penn State fans, this is a coach who is kind of always on the hot seat. His reputation is that he can make a good team, he can recruit well, but he's never won the big games when they matter. The fact that coach had a $50 million buyout, it's the second largest buyout we've ever seen executed in college football, trailing Jimbo Fisher's insane Texas A&M deal from 5 or 6 years ago. But those two things combined, it really does show, and I don't want to overstate here, but it shows that we are just in a different era now for college football. Financially, yes, from how coaches get treated, yes, from how quick teams are going to be to pull the trigger when things are going sour. Just everything is ramped up, and James Franklin, I think, is on the front end of. We're going to see a lot more coaches fired this year, and we're going to see more than $200 million worth of buyouts be paid just in this year alone, as everybody scrambles to get solid footing in what is a very kind of quickly shifting landscape.
Okay, so I'm Tony Petiti. I am going to some private capital saying, hey, we want this. Yeah, Big Ten commissioner. Thank you for that ID. And I'm negotiating private capital. People keep saying private equity. It doesn't necessarily have to be private equity if we're talking about a pension fund or a endowment, which could be. And I see this. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, where is the capital? Like, who is allocating capital at these institutions? Like, who is negotiating these contracts? What is going on when this guy, like you said, with the reputation he had, scores a $50 million buyout? I mean, if you're Penn State and you had said, James, we'd love to have you as our football coach, but that's out of the question. No. What's he going to do?
Yeah.
So come on.
It's not just Penn State, obviously.
No.
Florida State, which has beat Alabama earlier in the year, but has been in precipitous decline over the past 2 years.
Can I go back to my favorite conversation ever? I mean, I'll just say it again because it's so much fun. And it goes way, way back to Bobby Bowden. And I don't even know how many years ago it was, but I was just talking to Bobby Bowden, the former coach at Florida State. And he had lost. It was almost like a James Franklin situation. I believe he had lost like a game or two before that he shouldn't have lost, or nobody expected they would lose. And he just said, well, I'll tell you, Scott, I'm not going to try and do my dadgummit here, but like something's changing because the president of the university came to see me in my office this week. First time in X number of years that he'd ever, I didn't even, don't even know he knew where my office was, to say that he noticed there were some empty seats at the stadium. He's like, uh-oh. Things have surely changed. And when you are consistently, unlike Stanford, which renovated a stadium to take seats out because they didn't want the pressure of filling them, but when you're going from 100,000 to 105 to 110, as Penn State and Michigan do, when you have that many seats, you have to fill that many seats. And when you lose in succession, Oregon, UCLA, and Northwestern, you do not fill those seats. That is a huge problem.
And again, this is not just a Penn State problem. Florida State coach Mike Norvell has a $58 million buyout, and that team is fading fast.
How?
Kalen DeBoer, Scott, who took over for Nick Saban, has a $60+ million buyout. Even though, is he your next Nick Saban? Who knows? Just the idea that some of these coaches.
I can tell you that Joe Scarborough tells me weekly, no, he's not.
And he's turned it around this season after a bad loss that looks worse to Florida State. It's the aforementioned comment on the Seminoles. To me, the big thing here is that if everything is heightened now and the pressures on coaches is higher and the trigger to fire them is way faster, you can't be giving out $50-60 million buyouts to coaches that are unproven at your institution. And something has to give here. And I think the answer is that we start to see a different structure for I don't know, but I think we start to see a different structure for coaches' contracts moving forward. But
incentivize the hell out of them. Nice base salary, incentivize the hell where they can have tremendous upside. Oh, and by the way, now we'll give you some equity in this new unit that we're creating in NUCO. You have 1% of NUCO. There you go.
We'll see, but yeah, I think that, and again, James Franklin's not going to be the last one fired here. There's going to be a lot of coaches. The interesting thing that I think is happening here is that a lot of teams that think they might fire their coach at the end of the year are opting to do it now so they can get into the process of trying to
get in early
faster.
Yep.
And we talk about this a lot with college sports, that this is very much a industry where you follow each other, and there's often kind of a flood of things happening. So we saw this in realignment. As soon as the first couple dominoes fell, everybody just jettisoned. The Pac-12 died in like 6 hours on a Thursday or a Friday, whatever that was. And we're starting to see, I think, something similar with coaches, where now that there are big schools like UCLA and Penn State and Virginia Tech that have fired their coaches, I think the everyone else is like, oh shoot, if we're gonna do this, we got to do this now. We got to get into the pool to find the next guy ASAP. And I think, again, you're going to see this kind of snowball effect happening on the coaching side as well.
And weird at a time, too, where now 1 or 2 losses doesn't kill your season, whereas in the past it used to. Yeah. And you were seeing less and less patience for a couple. Now, I don't pretend to know the inner workings of Penn State football. I have no idea. But I have no idea whether losing to Northwestern and UCLA is bad, really bad, or tragically, or funny bad.
However far you want to
keep going to the bad scale. Okay,
I'm not sure if you got quite deep enough.
All right, yeah. Okay. Well, then I mean, like we said, there's pressure here. I don't understand. I really will not understand how a board of trustees, how an AD, how a president approves a $50 million buyout for a football coach who, as you said, has been known not to win the so-called big one. That is why you pay somebody the dollars you're paying them to win that. If they cannot accomplish that goal, you should be able to jettison that person fairly cheaply.
Agreed. So we'll see. I am very curious. But once this new round of coaches, particularly at the big schools, get hired, whoever UCLA hires, whoever Penn State hires, and we can't get that contract, unfortunately. But looking at these contracts and seeing what a coach hired in 2025 and 2026, if their buyout structure is any different, are people learning from the new reality we're in, or are they not? And just to put the 50 plus million for James Franklin into context here, that's depending on who you ask and depending on the school, but Penn State is the top tier. That's 1.5 to 2 years worth of your college football player salaries, essentially. And take from that what you will. I think some people hear that number and they think, oh my God, they paid that much money to just to get a new coach. Or some people see that and say, oh, that's a lot of money. It's not that much in the grand scheme of things, given what's at stake here. But that it's now that the players are being paid, there's more money that has to go around, and there's more pressure on coaches and from administrators and from donors and from boosters and from trustees, because a few bad years. What does that do for your program long term? What does that do for your school long term?
Well, I go, what is it going to do for your conference long term? Because, like we say, the Big Ten is negotiating, was negotiating with some big private equity firms like Apollo, no longer around in those discussions. So we're looking at a pension fund, and remember, Ontario Teachers has been in sports forever. Like, this is not new. It's new for college, but it's not new, and we'll make a big deal out of it when it happens. But I mean, this era in college sports is here. I mean, we've seen the tumult and the change. So we knew this was coming. It's going to be a question for me of structure. Sort of, is this just sort of a straight up, we get equity in sort of what we've seen with La Liga, where they create a media entity and, you get a piece of future revenue? Is this going to be real equity, just straight up loan? It can take a million forms. The question here is, I'm curious, who is negotiating on behalf of the universities here? I don't think university presidents are really qualified here to be sitting across the table from the likes of an Apollo or a Blackstone and not get fleeced in some way. I'm curious, who is on the other side of the table negotiating these private capital deals? That's what I want to know.
We know some folks in the industry who have had the same thought that you have and are standing.
Some have created entities to specifically play that role.
Practices. Yeah. This one's interesting because, as you said, it's the conference level. It's not the school level. And obviously the conferences are the schools to a degree. But I would imagine this investment fund, which is a part of the UC, University of California pension system, I imagine their first point of contact is with the Big Ten specifically. And then at some point, obviously, trustees and presidents get brought into those conversations on the pitch. This is a $2.4 billion. What's being floated right now at the Big Ten, $2.4 billion cash investment spread across the 18 schools. Penn State, one of them also. You could imagine a world where Penn State is looking at this as, hey, can we get an advance on
timing.
That real quick?
I
got a $60 million check that I got to cut at some point.
Yep.
This is, you're starting to see why for a lot of schools, this idea of upfront capital, and yes, they're going to pay it back with interest, capital I, on the back end. But you're starting to get a sense.
Why is that capital I?
Just being, I'm emphasizing it.
Are you okay? Because I think interest wouldn't be capitalized.
Yes, with interest
Illinois,
in a big way.
Capital I.
With interest
Indiana,
in a big way.
Good football team, capital.
Kurt Signetti. They're going to pay that back in a big way. But you see why there is a lot of people, athletic directors, who currently feel like this is the moment. It's these next couple years as things shake out, as athletes start to get paid, as we maybe see a little bit more realignment. What happens with the Big 12's best schools? What happens with the ACC's best schools? That we are in this kind of hot moment, and that $2.4 billion now may be worth, let's double it, $4.8 billion over the next 20 years, just because this moment is so important.
Now, let me ask you this. We play a little word association. Do these things jive? And I'll first go back with a little history lesson, because if you remember how the Dodgers were purchased, it was used from insurance money. Yeah. And people were wondering, well, is this the right thing that an insurance should be used for? Professional sports team purchase, right? That has since been repaid. Okay, so let me put two words together. Well, three words. College sports on the one side, they're together, and pension on the other side. Because you just said, well, if you're telling me they're going to double or maybe better, okay, I see it. But our teachers and firefighters in California going, yeah, I think I want our pension fund to go to college sports. We think that the growth trajectory is positive. We don't see inherent too many high risk factors here. We don't think it's going anywhere. Everything should be fine and dandy, and let's put our money there.
I think that's a great question, Scott.
Thank you.
And it's up to the constituents and whoever runs
fund managers. Yeah, it's up to fund managers.
This is not an S&P 500 index fund, right? This is something that is a bit riskier and maybe
get me Muhammad Al-Arian on line one. Let's talk. Let's talk this.
What's the English soccer team that the Arizona pension fund is in? Is it Ipswich?
I don't know.
One of the kind of hovering around relegation promotion to the Premier League teams. I think it's Ipswich. Arizona, name. Maybe teachers or
suddenly I'm in the mood for a Chipwich.
God.
I am. That's how my brain works. You said Ipswich. I want a Chipwich.
And I think I'm just going to ignore that. I think that this is a good question. Like, should retirees in Arizona be worried about or paying attention to an second division English soccer team, hoping that Ipswich can make it up to the Premier League again or stay up in the Premier League? Again, I think you can make an argument I think this is the argument that there's higher upside. As we have seen, a lot of sports investments, Scott, over the past 20 years have been tremendously bulletproof when it comes to value appreciation and also revenue growth. And I don't think English soccer or college sports would be the blue chip stock in sports that I would be pointing to first and foremost. But yes, I think this is it's a really good question. I'm sure there's a lot of diligence happening here. But yeah, buying 10% of a commercial entity that holds the Big Ten's rights when you just don't know what the future really holds. Does the Big Ten exist in 10 years? Probably, right? But Probably.
I don't know what the name of it is or how many are there or part of a bigger group.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. There's a lot here, and there's smart people doing these deals, obviously. But I think it's a very good question about whether pension funds.
I'm not going to default into smart people doing these deals just because they're doing these deals. I'm going to reserve judgment until I know who's doing these deals before I make that analysis. You mentioned retirees in Arizona. They should be concerned with two things. If you're a retiree in Arizona, there's only two things should be on your mind right now. One, stay away from Barry Bloom knocking on your door for any reason. Sorry, Boomski, love you. And two, is Alex Burwell going to put another team, a hockey team there? That's what they should be. That should be consuming all the gray matter of the retirees. Forget about water and temperatures and things like that.
Well, I think I know the answer to number two there.
Yeah, no.
Yes, I think there's a two-letter.
No for Merwello, but it could be somebody else. But
agreed.
I agree with. That I don't know. All right, do we want to talk the whole time on this? Because we were planning a whole bunch of other topics, but you tell me. We've done that.
We can move on.
Want to do baseball? Now. You want to do Jess Berman's contract?
Let's do Jess Berman's contract. Big news that you and I broke on not when you want to break news, but
Friday night. Yeah,
Friday night at like 7 p.m.
And one of our colleagues, by the way, said something like, "Oh, the Friday night news dump." I'm like, we had to work our tails off to get this. This was not a news dump. This was no news dump. They were like, here, take this on a Friday night. No. That's not how this worked.
100%.
Yeah. But the news was that the committee, and I'll let you fill in sort of the why this matters and all the tumult around it. But the top headline news is that NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman got a 3-year extension to her contract. Maybe not as long as she wanted, not without some intrigue. So go ahead and fill in the blanks.
Yeah, this is Jess Berman. Her contract was set to expire at the end of this regular season. So this has been a topic within NWSL circles for a good part of the year. Negotiations on how long, how much money to offer, whether owners wanted her to stay in the job. And from what I have been told over the course of the last few months, it got kind of contentious, and there were owners on all sides of these questions. No question, if you look at top line valuation, Jess Berman's tenure at NWSL has been remarkably successful. Yeah. When she came in, I think it was right after the Michelle Kang bought the Spirit for $35 million valuation, which was at the time 10x what teams were worth. And we
triangulate. Speaking of Todd Bowley, who wanted the team, outbid by Michelle Kang, Todd Bowley, Eldridge, Guggenheim, insurance companies. Okay, go back to it.
Everything is connected.
By the way, we'll get back to and Dodgers still to come in the show.
And Dodgers still to come. So yeah, teams are now worth, if you were to say an average, over $100 million. Maybe we reported last week that the Houston Dash $120 million sale. That's maybe the lowest or second lowest revenue team in NWSL. So valuations have soared under Jess Berman. Commercial growth, obviously way higher. Also, there's a new media deal that she negotiated last year that is worth a lot more than the previous deals.
Well, you put it this way, it makes me wonder what in God's name is wrong here.
Well, I can get to the other part. Yes,
but those are two big. Those are two big wins.
Those are big wins. There are a number of owners who are concerned. One, there were a few very high-profile health and safety issues in the NWSL earlier this year that people did not feel like Jess and the league handled properly. Those being an incident where an Angel City player, Savvy King, collapsed in the second half of a game earlier this year, and the game resumed after she was carted off the field. And players afterwards were like, why did we continue this game? Like,
if that happened today, by the way, players would walk off the field, go to the locker room and say, we don't care what the directive is, we're not playing.
Well, it happened again a few weeks ago, and in that case, the game was suspended.
That's what I'm saying.
So lesson was learned there. And then the second one was a game on a Sunday that was set to be televised on national television on CBS, where the heat index, I don't know what the exact number was, but it was above what the CBA, I think, or what the collective bargaining.
Arizona retirees should stay indoors.
And Jess apparently was pushing the hosts, the Kansas City Current owners, to get the game off. It was a high profile game on CBS broadcast. The league doesn't have too many of those. And this is according to The Athletic. In a phone call where she was talking to the owner, she cited the millions of dollars that the league was going to lose if the game didn't kick off as it was supposed to, and it ended up getting delayed. So that's one. There have been some high-profile disciplinary moves in NWSL recently. Angel City is a glaring example of that. I know there are some other owners who feel like there are other teams and other owners who maybe should have been punished as well for similar salary cap infractions, and the league has not done that. So I think there's a feeling from some that there's favorites being played. I'll caveat that by saying I think every owners in every league look at their commissioner and think, I think this person plays favorites. I think Roger Goodell was too harsh on the New England Patriots and not on Team X or Y. So I think some of that just kind of comes with the territory of being a commissioner. There were a number of executives at the league office that left this year. These were Jess's people. So I think in general, it seems like league owners were fairly split on how to evaluate Jess's performance. At a press conference at the NWSL offices last month, Jess was asked about the contract, and I thought it was pretty enlightening what she said, Scott. She kind of took a breath and goes, I intend to be here, and that's all I can say on that, right? Which I think did kind of hint to the fact that this was not a very easy, when Roger Goodell gets his next extension, I think it's going to be a fairly easy process for the NFL. That's not what this was for NWSL. And then the last thing I'll say on this, just to kind of wrap it up, is
you're saying a lot.
Earlier this summer, not in September, earlier this summer, there was a vote among NWSL owners, a supermajority, which is what's needed, to give a mandate to the
exec committee,
to give to the executive committee, 4-person executive committee. It's Michelle Kang, it's Carolyn Tish-Blodgett, it's Mark Wilf, and it's Laura Ricketts. There was some mandate given to them to get the details done on this deal. And from folks that you and I talked to, Scott, some people think that mandate was execute the deal, sign it, and let's move on. Other people interpreted that mandate to be hammer out the negotiation and the details, and then at some point it comes back to all the owners and we all vote on it.
Yeah.
And the former is what happened. This deal was negotiated, executed, and finalized by that 4-person committee. And I know from talking to a few people that there was people upset who felt like that was kind of an end around a much wider owner vote that might not have gotten the supermajority needed to ratify it. So all that to say that Jess Berman has a new 3-year contract, not without at least a little bit of consternation among some owners. And yeah, I think some of that is natural to all leagues in some ways in terms of how heavy the crown of commissioner is. And I think some of that is specific to what's happening right now or what's happened in the last few years at the NWSL.
All right, I'm pivoting to Major League Baseball. We have, at the time of taping, we have one game in the American League done. Mariners over Blue Jays. We have Brewers and Dodgers. We'll be playing today as we tape. Jays Mariners will be game 2 right before. That's interesting. You'll have 2 games in the American League done before the National League even takes the field. I'm looking at, all right, Jays Brewers, would you say, is obviously the one Major League Baseball and TV executives do not wish for? Even though the Brewers are a great story, you're up against the Dodgers. I mean, it's the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think for this conversation, great stories don't matter that much. Again, the obvious caveat that what they want is 7 games, and if you get 7 games out of Brewers and Jays,
but Jays don't count. Jays don't get count in the U.S. TV rating. So that's...
so we had this conversation last year in the Stanley Cup Finals, obviously when Edmonton played against the.
But you will have all of Canada watching, so
you will. Yeah, so I think there's great stories abound here. I said this on the pod last week. I think I'm excited about Brewers Dodgers because everybody's talked about the Brewers as like new age Moneyball and the Dodgers as
who's the young pitcher that people were pissed he got picked for the All-Star game? The Brewers dude. What's it? I'm not sure. The tall, skinny dude. Throws hard.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, well, whatever. Him.
Zach Greinke.
Zach Greinke. First of all, he's not tall. Second of all, he's got social anxiety disorder. No.
Young Dodgers pitcher.
He's a bit prickly.
From 15
Hold
years
on.
ago.
Why don't I speak for a minute and you quickly Google Dodgers pitcher, hard thrower, tall, skinny dude. Brewers. I'm sorry. Brewers. There was the controversy where he got picked for the All-Star game. And some of the other players were like, he didn't deserve it or whatever. I like watching this.
Jacob Misiorowski?
Yeah, Misiorowski. That's him.
Okay.
That's him.
Cool.
Yeah. Watch him pitch. He's got the flat brim. He's gangly, tall. Reminds me of Jack McDowell-esque, but he just throws hard and get emotional. And I like watching this dude pitch. So all around, I like watching the Brewers play. So this is not me trying to get Mark Adonasio to come to our live event November 4th, Invest in Sports, even though he's been invited for some time now. I mean, even cozied it up. I'm like, the world wants to hear from the owner of baseball's best team. Come on, Mark, if you're listening, let's confirm. I know it's hard during the championship series, but time is falling short. So let's make it happen. But I'm still absolutely fascinated by the business probabilities of Cal Raleigh, where Boomski earlier in the year talked to him. He's like, I'm not focused on that right now, but he does have some deals. He hit a home run again here in the first game of the championship series. He's a catcher. I'm like, big dumper. Like, why does the entire country not love this guy? And his face should be everywhere. I just, world of potential if they go to the World Series, win the thing, and he plays a pivotal role. I love this guy.
I agree with you. He hit 60 home runs this year.
Yeah.
Right? And kind of came out of nowhere. He's been a player for a bit, obviously. But 60 home runs, I don't think anyone expected.
As a catcher.
As a catcher, yeah. The only explanation I can think of, Scott, is that he just doesn't love the nickname. Right? Or maybe just doesn't.
How
like
do you not love
at
this nickname?
All, period.
Come on.
I agree with you. I think the nickname.
If you don't love the nickname, you wouldn't sign any of the deals. But he signed some of the deals.
It is a reference to his voluminous rear end.
His tuchus.
I can see some people being sensitive about. Again, this is a professional baseball player who's hitting 60.
Derriere, posterior.
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Push.
About him, but. Yeah, you're right. Big dumper, and this team, which is exciting, and a team that has not had a ton of baseball success over the past 2 decades, and a city that's obviously desperate for it as well. Yeah, this is a great story. I think the Blue Jays are a great story also. Given the where they are in the AL East and the attention that gets paid to the Red Sox and the Yankees and all that, and they've missed out on some big free agents, including Shohei Ohtani, but have spent money and done it quite well. I think the Blue Jays are a great story also. The Brewers are also a good story, and in some ways, I think that we've talked about this before also, but the Dodgers, if they roll through these playoffs again, I think the conversation about a salary cap becomes a more interesting one, at least in fans' eyes, and maybe in some circles around the league as well. So that's something I'm thinking about with a very ugly labor fight likely looming on the horizon. Most experts think that there is almost certainly going to be missed baseball games at some point soon. I think the Brewers winning this World Series versus the Dodgers winning this World Series, I think does have a potential impact.
The Mets missing help the commissioner if he's looking to say, hey, look, hey, just because you spend doesn't mean you win. So.
Well, that helps the commissioner or hurts the commissioner? I think that hurts the commissioner.
Well, if he wants the salary cap, then it hurts him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think the Mets losing is like, oh, see, it's not about money. But I think the Dodgers winning, I think, and I agree it is. But I think the Dodgers winning does kind of help underscore. Okay, this is a runaway problem.
If I say Mariners, what comes to mind?
Like literally the first thing that comes to mind is Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, usually Ken Griffey, right? See, I'm demented. I don't even go baseball. It's like it's this because of what. So I'm going to play the clip. I hope we don't get sued. Should I push forward a little bit so it's not so long? But this is one of the funniest moments in the history of television. And the delivery,
our producer's already rolling his eyes right
now.
Yeah,
it's okay. Right, here we go. But all right, it's like, should I push forward a little bit so we get right to it, or like the setup?
Get right to it. I say get right to it.
Let me say, all right.
On behalf of everybody listening.
All right, it's going to be very hard here. I'm pushing forward. All right, so this is a guesstimate here. I'm looking, I'm working with the phone here. All right, here we go.
No question about it. But my baseball people love
Ken Phelps.
I recognized it at least.
One of the classic moments in all of television history when they think George is dead. How could you trade Shea Buhner? All right, and now we'll finish up with this. Let me know if you identify this.
I mean, I know the song, but I don't know in what context.
You're missing the chant. We started off killing them bad. This is what's going on in Happy Valley now. You don't even need to go to the football games. You just have to go to Pagula Ice Arena if you want excitement. Okay. It's Hockey Valley. It is not Happy Valley.
All right, he is Scott Soshnick.
There you go. Thank you. I was waiting for it. Oh, my God.
At Soshnick. I'm
Gavin. Although I'm telling you, it's this whole world of I want more. We got to write more about hockey.
His hair out.
You got 23-year-old AHL washouts playing in college now.
Our editor, thank you to him.
Freaking ridiculous.
Then Matt Palacio,
God
Sebastian
almighty.
Milo, and Carol Winston would like you to know that you can follow
God.
the show at Sporticast.
One went to Quinnipiac. One went to Merrimack. These are pros.
Network. You got me there. I stumbled.